Yo guys, yesterday I'm driving home high and suddenly like I'm listening to music and all, it's all chill, but my brain decides to go all schizo mode on me, right? I start thinking about purpose, about if it's a cope or if it actually is a real thing. So before you go all crazy on me, let me explain, right? So throughout your whole life, you are told that you have a purpose and that you're here for something bigger. And that's a nice idea. I honestly do believe that it is true. But then the other side tells me that since we're coping with everything, and I mean like literally everything, we're very smart as species, we're very intelligent, and we're pretty much the only animal that knows that it's gonna eventually die. Like we know about our doom since pretty much like 10 years old. You are aware that you won't be here forever, right? So I was there thinking like if we're coping with everything, like people cope with like drugs and they cope with prawn and whatever, what if our purpose is like the grand cope, like the biggest scope of them all? Because on your purpose, you will probably spend like a lot of years, a lot of hours thinking about it, doing something about it. So, what if our purpose is the biggest scope of them all? Crazy thought to have, buddy. Crazy thought to have. Okay, let me try to articulate this. Let me try to argue. I might have just gotten blackpilled, right? By myself while being high in a car listening to rap. That's a weird setup, but I might have just fucking blackpilled myself, buddy. Listen to this. So, purpose is a very unstable thing. We all know that we have something underneath that we're always after, that we're always chasing, but that something tends to change. And that is, I think, the biggest weakness of purpose as a concept. So, when you're young, you want to become like a doctor or you want to become like an astronaut, but then you like become a teenager and you hit puberty, and then you might want to become a firefighter, firefighter, or you might become like a streamer or something like that, something more modern. And then you hit 24, and now you're working at a office, and now you might be thinking that you want to become a, I don't know, maybe a singer or something. Like realistically, the goals change, the purpose always fluctuates. And even when you find your purpose very young, it tends to go like a wave. It goes, it comes, it goes, it comes. Like it's never really a constant thing that's going on like for 50 years straight. Like you always have these dips in feeling the purpose, in connecting to it, and like feeling like it is always there. Like you really have these dips, these like dark moments where the purpose feels like it's not there, like you're not having it anymore. So my example in this, or my situation, is that when I was like 15, I started making music a lot, and then for 3 years straight I was making music and I was really enjoying it. And then around 18, I lost interest in it for some reason. I just don't know. I just lost interest. I wasn't that interested in making music anymore. So I stopped. Then a year later, I felt it again. I started again. But now, after a few months, I dropped it again. So this is the wave effect. Like it comes and it goes. So if making music is my deepest purpose, it's my fundamental purpose, then why does it go away and it comes back? It almost doesn't make sense. And now currently I feel very passionate about doing this that you're watching right now. I like making videos. I like talking about philosophy. I like talking about our generation, like the Gen Z. I like talking about many different topics that are very relatable for young people, especially young men. So what happens if in 2 years, after doing this for 2 years consistently, I'm like, I don't really care about this anymore and I'm gonna drop it? And then what? Like, what if I connect to this so much that I make it my purpose and then I just give it up? Like, you know where I'm going with this? So purpose might be ever evolving thing, sure, but also it might be just fucking cope mechanism for everybody on earth. Because if you don't have a purpose, if you don't find a deeper meaning behind being here, you will start feeling very existentially dreadful. And that leads to a lot of mostly bad stuff. Like, if you think about people that don't have purpose, that are very existentially fucked, you could say, or philosophically or whatever, they all become gunicidal. I'm not gonna say the word, but you know what I mean. They become very nihilistic. So when you become nihilistic, the world kind of loses its vibrant colors. So then what you do is you try to find it again. Maybe you never had it. Maybe you had it but you lost it. But regardless of how you lost it or if you ever had it, you're in the same waters as you were before. You have no purpose. So it starts to feel like it's a little fucked up, you know? So you try to go at it again and you try to find your purpose again. Because if you don't, your mind will eventually probably drive you crazy if you really live your day by just as a pure hedonism. You know, if you just live to consume and to feel pleasure, you will eventually kind of lose the whole plot and nothing is really ever going to satisfy you. So you'll become crazy by doing that. And if you don't find a purpose, you're always just gonna be wandering around without really a meaning behind why you're here. So that is why we look for purpose our whole lives. And that is why we have self-books talking about purpose. We have literal coaches online that you have to literally pay money for them to help you find your purpose. But what if it's just a freaking cope for all of us? Because our intellect or intelligence is so high as a creature, as an animal, right? That without finding a deeper meaning, we lost the whole damn plot and we want to end ourselves. Like, that's a pretty damn deep thought of mine. Ooh. And now we come to Gen Z because, bro, Gen Z, we're kind of fucked up because since birth we're indulged in this hyper consumerism era where since like 6 years old you have a tablet, you have a phone, and you consume content the whole time, and it really makes it harder for you to find your purpose, because I think finding purpose is a long process. It's a very hard process, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience to find it. It also takes a lot of suffering. You really have to suffer through a lot of things before you really realize what you're seeking. So if you're consuming the whole time, if you're always on your phone, if you're, always playing your video game or whatever, or however else you're coping, you will find out pretty soon that it's very hard to find your purpose by only consistently doing these things. You really have to stop at a point and embrace the suffering. Yeah, I think that's it. You really have to the finding of purpose is a long process. It's a long process and it demands a lot of sacrifice in return. And this generation, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, God forbid, we really have a hard time finding purpose, and I think a lot more young guys than ever are struggling finding their purpose. I don't know about women. I'm not a woman. I suppose it's not as easy for them as it was back in the day, but this is the reality for the most part. But I think it is still possible to find what you're seeking after and to find your purpose, if you will. But there's the other side that is, I think, the dangerous side, and the one that you shouldn't really dive deep into, and that is that the purpose might just be straight up cope for our never satisfied brains. So I would suggest not going there, not going that way and thinking that purpose is cope, because it doesn't really benefit you at all. Like, say you are 100% sure that purpose is cope, then what? Now you're gonna just wait to die? Like, it's not really beneficial for you by any means. So you might as well go for the traditional route and trying to find why you're actually here on earth and why God brought you here around around this nature, amongst these people, and so on and so forth. So tell me what you think. Did I cook on this one, boys? Did I cook on this one? Because this was a nice thought. This was a very nice thought, and I wasn't ready for it, because when you are a little buzzed, you don't really want to have these kinds of thoughts. You just want to be chill. You want to just laugh, watch something, eat something. You don't want to think about these kinds of stuff. But I was alone at that moment, so I was like, shit, now I have to think about it. And I wrote it down immediately after I parked my car. And today I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about this, because I think it's something worth talking about for a lot of people. And I think it's gonna be especially valuable to me in the future to watch this video and be like, okay, this guy had a point, or this guy was just full of shit. So yeah, guys, I hope you have a nice one, and I will see you in the next one.